Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches, profesor. Buenas noches, profesor.
Buenas noches, ¿qué tal?
Buenas noches, profesor. Buenas noches, estudiantes. Esta noche damos inicio a nuestra sesión número 4 de Literatura Infantil con el profesor Santos Monroy. Profesor, pasamos a compartir los parámetros de la sesión.
Vale, está bien.
Respetados estudiantes, estos son los parámetros de las sesiones por videoconferencia. Las sesiones se graban, o sea que podemos verlas nuevamente en nuestra plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien su micrófono y puedan activarlo cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Le pedimos que mantenga su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar sus excusas por el chat de Zoom o de lo contrario serán retirados de la sesión y les serán restados puntos de la heterovaloración del docente. Pero como moderador es facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Las consultas las hacemos por el chat personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo esta sesión. Gracias, profesor.
Okay, let's start. For this session, we're going to talk about children's literature, session number 4. For this session, it's about Robinson Crusoe and adventures. The learning objective: upon completion of this module, you will be able to recognize how to use adventures to develop writing and reading comprehension, encourage creativity in your students, as well as better understanding of the world around them. Remember that in all the sessions, we summarize the information that you have already available on the platform. So if you want to get a deep understanding of the content, you can go to the CETES platform. So let's see. This is a summary about Robinson Crusoe. The characters. While the overwhelming focus on Robinson Crusoe is on its eponymous hero, there is a fairly large cast of supporting characters in the story. Robinson Crusoe and his man Friday are the main characters of the novel. Last class, we talked about fables, and also we discussed funny points for kids. In this session, we're going to talk about novel, which is totally different, but it's important in the novel understand what are the performance of each characters. Remember that in all novels, we have the main character, the secondary character, the tertiary character, and so on. And each one of them has something to do or say in the novel. We also have that the main parts of the novel can be the plot, the scenery, uh, the conflict and the resolution of the conflict, and also the characters. The plot is what happened in the story, and most of the time, this is in charge of the main character, and also the ones who have to solve the problem to solve the conflict is also the main character. That's why it's important when reading a literature work, identify first who is the main character, because almost all the story is going to be around that character, the main character. So let's see first who is Robinson Crusoe. He born in 1632 to German immigrant who settled in the northern England and succeeded as merchant. Robinson Crusoe is a restless young man with a thirst for adventure. He resourceful, intelligent, and skillful, succeeding as businessman and later learning to make everything he needs by himself with only limited resources. He also proves adept at fighting towards the book's ends. This is basically a short, basic information about Robinson Crusoe. The character of Robinson Crusoe was partly inspired by the life of Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish sailor who was dropped on an uninhabited island off the coast of Chile after arguing with his captain in 1704. When he was discovered 4 years later, he was dressed in goat skins and had gone somewhat crazy. Many details used in Robinson Crusoe were taken from Selkirk's memoir. Mm, Sometimes the writer inspired their characters on someone from the real life. If you notice, most of the characters from different novels, their characters are inspired in the life of someone else, especially because the writer want to represent the life of somebody on their characters. So, and this is not exception, because as I already said, Robinson Crusoe was inspired in somebody else. I have my first question. It says, who is the author of Robinson Crusoe? Samuel Richardson, Daniel Defoe, Robert Louis Stevenson. I already mentioned the author of this novel. So I'm going to be waiting for your answer. You can send the answer to the chat, or if you want, you can raise your hand and say the letter which has the correct answer, A, B, or C. Okay, remember this is the first activity, and in this one you have to say who is the author of Robinson Crusoe. From the list, I have Ghislaine and Nicole. Who do you think it's the author of Robinson Crusoe? Okay, you say B. Let's see. Yes, Daniel Defoe is the author of Robinson Crusoe. Remember that Robinson Crusoe is a novel in which the main character is inspired in a sailor that someone from real life who had an experience in the coast near Chile. Second question. Robinson Crusoe is widely credited as the first English. So we have a essay, autobiography, or C, novel. What is Robinson Crusoe? Is an essay, is an autobiography, or it's a novel? What do you think? Okay, let's see. Yes, The Robinson Crusoe is a novel. It's not an essay. It's widely credited as the first English novel. That's why Robinson Crusoe is very important because it's known and also credited as the first English novel ever written. So let's see. Friday, but let's see what is Friday. A handsome, athletic, and intelligent native rescued by Crusoe from the hands of cannibals. Remember, Crusoe is the main character, and he rescued Friday is another character. So that's the name of a character from the novel. Friday is Crusoe's loyal servant and companion during his final years on the island and back in Europe. So if I ask you who is Friday, okay, Friday is Crusoe's loyal servant. Crusoe rescued Friday from the cannibals. Ah, and also Friday was taken back in Europe. So about 26 years old when rescued by Crusoe's estimate. We never learn what Friday's real name is or how he feels about leaving for England. So that's the name of our second character, Friday. In this session, we're going to be discovering the name of the main characters and we're going to discuss about them because it's important to have an idea about all the characters of the novels and when they do uh, during the novel. Let's start now with the minor characters. A large cast of characters, many of whom remain anonymous, play small but critical roles in the story. He is a sampling of the most important characters. So, if you see that there are many characters on the novel, but some of them remain anonymous, which means that probably we don't know the name of them or the name of them are not mentioned on this novel, but they play an important role in certain moments during the plot. Remember, Crusoe is the main character. So let's see a summary about him. Growing up in a middle-class family in the northeastern of city of York, Robinson Crusoe feels bored and restless, dreaming of a life of travel and adventure. He plans on making a living as a sailor, but his father takes him aside and seriously cautions him against this idea. The best life, he says, is one of middle class comfort and predictability. This is a summary about the main character, Robinson Crusoe. So, understanding the soundness of his father's advice, but still thrilled by the prospect of travel and adventure, Crusoe jumps at the opportunity to take his boat voyage from Hull to London. He experiences a series of increasingly severe storm. Eventually, they're forced to abandon their ship and row to the shore in a lifeboat. The captain advises Crusoe that this is a warning from God. He should listen to his father and abandon his plans to become a merchant sailor. At the very beginning, Crusoe has the idea of becoming a merchant sailor, but his father advised him not to do that. So, as soon as possible, when Crusoe had the opportunity to take his first voyage, his first trip, he did it, but they went to a very dangerous storm in which they lost their ship. So that's why someone said Crusoe that this was like a warning from God, and and also that he had the opportunity to remain alive, and based on that, he must follow his father advice. But let's see, probably later we're going to identify if Crusoe follow or got her his father advices or not. So despite these forebodings, Crusoe decided to go on a voyage to the West African coast with a captain he befriends in London. He sells toys and trinkets in exchange for gold dust, turning 40 pounds into 300 pounds on his first voyage. Hooked on this easy profit, he continues traveling to Africa as a trader even after his friend the captain dies. So here we saw that Crusoe followed his dream of becoming a merchant, and he do it. So one of his first voyage being a merchant was in the African, in the west of Africa coast. But let's see what happened on his voyage. On one voyage, Crusoe's ship is overtaken by Moroccan pirates from Morocco, and he's sold as a slave. So if I ask you who was sold as a slave, Crusoe was stolen as a slave. Remember that also Crusoe rescued Friday from the cannibals. Now he has been captured as a slave by the Moroccan pirates. And one of his duties as a slave, his task is to catch fish. He uses this as an opportunity to escape along with another slave, a young boy named Suri. So Suri was another slave that also was being captured by the Moroccan pirates. Both Suri and Crusoe, their task was fish catching. So they took this as an advantage and they escaped. So Crusoe and Suri traveled the African coast until they spot a European ship. The ship is Portuguese and its captain takes them abroad and treats them well, offering them free passage to Brazil. In Brazil, the captain helped Crusoe set up a small sugar and tobacco plantation using the limited money he still has, some of which he makes by selling Suri a slave. Crusoe works hard on his plantation for a few years and starts to grow prosperous. So Suri was sold by Crusoe to the Brazilian captain. That's why he got some money. Now let's talk about Robinson Crusoe genre. Daniel Defoe is widely recognized as an innovator of fictional prose form. Remember that this guy was the one who wrote Robinson Crusoe. And Robinson Crusoe is often credited as the first novel in the English language. That's why it's also important. Like the novel tradition that would develop in England throughout the 18th century, Robinson Crusoe is a long work of prose fiction with an ordinary person for a protagonist and wealth of lifelike details. So now let's see Robinson Crusoe themes. This is a thematically rich work. Individualism, the place of chance and God in human affairs, and the nature of colonialism are among their most interesting and important themes developed in the novel. Remember that we are describing pieces of the novel, the most important aspect. So if here I talk about the genre, this is also important because the themes, the novel is about what? So now we can say, okay, the novel is about individualism, God in human affairs, the nature of colonialism, and those are the themes of this novel, those three aspects. Okay, this question. Who is the main character in Robinson Crusoe? I already mentioned, but now I'm asking you this question. Who's the main character in Robinson Crusoe? What do you think is the main character? Remember that so far we have been talking about three characters: Robinson Crusoe, Suri, and Friday. But let's see your answer. Someone has already sent a message. Let's see. Himself. Yeah. Robinson Crusoe is the main character. So the main character of Robinson Crusoe is the eponymous Robinson Crusoe. The eponymous means that the work takes the name of the main character. In this case, the eponymous is Robinson Crusoe because the novel, it's the novel topic title is the name of the main character. His man Friday also plays an important role in the story. Probably, I would say that Friday is a secondary character. So who is Friday? Remember that Friday was someone that Robinson Crusoe rescued from cannibals. Robinson Crusoe took him back to Europe. So, and also Friday does a large cast of other, and also there are other characters that do a large cast of the minor characters. Let's see this one. What do you think? Is Robinson Crusoe a true story? At the beginning, I said that Robinson Crusoe was inspired in somebody else, but the question is now is not also about Robinson Crusoe, it's about the whole novel. What do you think about this question? This is about a true story or not? Okay, let's see. You say that is not a true story, Gislaine. Let's see. Yeah, Ghislaine, you are right. Robinson Crusoe is a fictional story, but it was inspired by Daniel Defoe's, the author, reading of a true accounts of shipwrecked people, particularly a man named Alexander Selkirk. Defoe tried hard to pass off the story as true for some years, but he didn't manage to fool many. So the answer of the question, Robinson Crusoe is not a true story. Robinson Crusoe is a fictional story. That's the answer. Fictional story. So now I have, I'm going to be asking you some questions that I'm going to write them. Let's see here, the first one. Okay, from the novel, I already discussed about the theme. Do you remember the theme of this story, of this novel? We talk about the theme and we talk about the genre. Theme and genre of the story. At least one word. At least one word. I said some aspect about this, the theme and the genre. What do you think? At least one word that describe that you say, okay, Robinson Crusoe theme and genre, I would say it is, I describe three things about the theme and genre, but you may say just one. What do you think about this one? You can write your answer in the chat. Okay, let me get, uh, in the meantime, you write your answer. I'm gonna be getting some water. So let's take some minute and I'll be back. Okay, let's see. What do you think about the theme and genre of Robinson Crusoe? Okay, I will be helping you with the answer. Uh, for this idea, the theme and genre, remember that I talk about God in human affairs, individualism, but also I will share this one about this answer. So I say individualism, or I can say individualism or self-reliance. It can be the themes of 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 this one. I can say self-reliance. Also, it talk about civilization, Christianity, especially when I said God in human affairs. It's basically based on that, the Christianity. This can answer this idea, the themes and genre. Let me see. Religious. Yes, Giselle. Let's talk about religions. Excellent. So the themes and genre, the self-reliance, the individualism, the civilization. Why the civilization? Because this is a novel. If you know the setting, the sceneries that take place in this novel, they travel to Brazil, the African coast. They talk about the Moroccan pirates in many spots in Europe. So there are many places that are described in this novel. That's why the theme is also the genre civilization, because of the amount of different places in which this novel is inspired or are mentioned during the plot of the novel. Now, let's see. I have this one. What about the characters? I already mentioned three. I want to know if you remember the name of these characters. I mentioned three, but let's see if you remember the name of those characters. I think that I already mentioned four characters, but let's see if you remember at least two characters. Remember the main characters, and also I talk about the secondary. Yes, Friday, Suri, and also Robinson Cruz. Thank you, Gislaine, for your participation. Remember that, and also mention the Portuguese captain. And last one, let's see. Three things about Robinson Crusoe. Three things about him. I already mentioned many things that happened to him, but what do you remember about this main character. Three things that describe Robinson Crusoe. Let's see. Three things about him. Yeah, Ghislaine said human spirit, and he was a survival. Yes, he was. Remember that Robinson Crusoe is the main character of the novel. He wanted to be a merchant, but his father didn't want that type of profession for Robinson Crusoe. But uh, he went on his first voyage in which he lost his ship. So probably um, that was it wasn't an obstacle for him to pursue his dream. So he continued, and after that he he sent he makes like a business. So as soon as he get the money, he he went on his second voyage. In this second voyage, he went to the African coast. During his voyage, he was captured by Moroccan pirates, and he was sold as a slave. When he was on that, he was asked to do some fish catching, and he did it. But doing that, he could escape from that with Suri. Remember that Suri was the name of another slave. So they went until they spot a ship. The ship was the captain of the ship was a Portuguese captain. The Portuguese captain uh, dropped them off Brazil. So when Robinson Crusoe arrived to Brazil, he got some money because he sold Suri to the Portuguese captain. That's why he got some money. When he arrived to Brazil, he could get some portion of land in which he had some sugar and tobacco farm. So that's basically what we know about Robinson Crusoe? More information about Robinson Crusoe. It was written by Daniel Defoe. Is not a true story. Robinson Crusoe is a fiction story. It was inspired uh, by someone from real life. The It was inspired by Alexander Selkirk, and this is basically what we know about the story, about this novel. It's also mentioned that there are many characters in the story that we already know the name of, because even when they are important, their names are not mentioned in this novel. Okay, before finishing, remember that we are advancing in the modules, and it's very important to do the activities that you have uh, on the platform. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was checking your first forum, but I saw that nobody has already participated on the forum. So I appreciate if you start sharing and answering the question on the forum and sharing your comments and opinions in the forum. Remember that the idea of forum is to make networks with your classmate. Networking with your classmate. What is networking? It's making communication with somebody else and also make interactions. That's why it's important to be participating on the forums. And finally, do the module task. Remember that for each of the module, you have an activity, you have a test, and also you have a forum. So I don't know if you have something that you want to ask. Remember that this is just a summary of what you have on the platform. This is just a brief summary because of the time. But it's important because based on that, you will have an idea about the story. And it's going to be easy for you to get the idea when you start reading the story. So if you don't have more question, I hope to see you next Monday.
Listo, profesor.
Vale, hasta luego.
No tenemos más consultas o aportes. Podemos dar como finalizada la sesión de la noche de hoy. Tengan todos una excelente noche. Gracias, profesor. Gracias, estudiantes.
Vale, hasta luego.